lot of these guys, they don't know what they're doing. But when they start rolling down the windows and they start showing their hands and they start showboating and things like that, you know that they are, they're feeling pretty confident about what they're doing, and they know exactly what the situation is. They're not just running blindly. They're showboating. Right now, those speeds are really, really slowing down. I'm working with some moving map technology here that is, I believe we're on La Palma. And we got off at Glazelle Street. That was Glazelle Street. That's where we got off. So on La Palma right now, this vehicle moving even slower and slower. Another U-turn. At least he's going the right way. But California Highway Patrol right behind him. These slower speeds, they might bring this thing to an end quickly.
And it really makes you wonder what was going on inside that car before that passenger slipped right out of there.
Because the passenger was the one sticking his or her arms out the window.
It was such a bizarre ordeal.
Maybe they were being held
against. Sure.
Yeah.
Who knows? We have no idea. A lot of the details are pretty sketchy about what happened prior to this chase. So
the car was going slow enough that that passenger could get out. Not saying the passenger was being held against his or her will, but that's a possibility. Stu, are we north or south of the 91 off Glazelle?
Yep, and I'm thinking, are we going to go right by where he dropped that guy off? I mean, maybe we're going to see what's happened right there. Definitely making our way back over towards the freeway, moving slowly though. And it seems like you got to wonder, this guy was going so fast earlier on, taking all these opportunities. You got to wonder, maybe the truck is slowing down, or maybe he's trying to conserve some fuel. But right now though, this car just kind of like moving very, very slowly compared to what he's been doing earlier.
Indecisively.
California Highway Patrol right behind him. If they see that opportunity where they know there's nobody around, meaning no civilians or no other traffic, they might just come up there and just do that little tap and spin this thing around, maybe bringing this thing to an end. But we've seen it in the past where it just isn't enough. Right now, though, you can see traffic obeying the laws out here, basically slowing down, stopping. They see those lights and sirens, but very slow moving now as we're continuing on La Palma. Now we're going westbound. We're coming back up basically to the interchange. So I'm wondering if we're going to have an opportunity to get back onto the freeway. But at these slow speeds, he's going to blend in with traffic very well. There is the 60 right, or the 91.
91, right.
The 91 right now.
I'm just so curious, Jeff, about just the passenger that got out of the car, and it's so bizarre how they just lie there on the ground versus just putting their hands up and saying, hey, I'm surrendering, or I've been in trouble this whole time. Who knows what's been going on?
Or they're just covering their head and hoping for the best that they don't get hit.
Sure.
Yeah.
This, the other thing, as Stu was saying, they may just tap his bumper and do the pit maneuver. There's so much they have to consider. They not only have to consider where they spin him around, they have to consider who is behind that car and where are they as police officers, because they're going to have their guns out. They have to worry about what's behind that suspect that could be in danger should they have to fire their weapons.
What's around them?
Exactly.
Are there any people around them? Is there traffic around them?
A lot to consider.
Any businesses, sure.
Okay, he's going to make another...
Making a left turn, maybe? Oh, wow.
Good call.
It's amazing how that car just stopped there and saw that happening.
He made it out to... No, he didn't make it out to State College. This looks like we're on Sunkist, possibly Sunkist southbound now from La Palma. My pilot and I are discussing how we're going to handle this stuff with the Disney TFR, if we're going to go over it, try to stay away from it. But you can see other local law enforcement definitely in the area assisting the best they can. Their assist is going to be basically to be in the area if this thing comes to an end and the guy gets out and runs, or somebody else in the vehicle gets out and runs. Also in the area to assist, make sure the public is out of the way. Working our way southbound now. I believe this is going to be Sunkist, and we might have to do some climbing because of that Disneyland TFR, the TFR that's flight restriction. So we're going to have to do a little bit of climbing before we can follow along, but we're doing it. And Sky 2, more than capable. Looks like we're making another turn, if I have to guess, and I'm going to. It looks like we're going to continue westbound. I don't know the name of the street, but I'll get it for you here in a minute.
All right. Stu's talking about temporary flight restriction that says that when you're over major events, the FAA says you can't fly over that area. Quite a long time ago, Disney was able to swing something with the FAA where they made that temporary flight restriction permanent. So they really are in the catbird seat when it comes to keeping aircraft off of their airspace. So Sky 2 is not unlike any other aircraft. They just cannot fly right over the Magic Kingdom.
That's right. And as Stu mentioned, he's going to climb a little bit just to get a little higher vantage point for us, and then just stay out of that flight restriction area for Anaheim, for Disneyland, and try to follow this car on the surface streets. But right now, Jeff, I mean, it seems like, as Stu was mentioning, this car, I mean, he's not driving too fast. He's not driving fast. And then you wonder, are they planning perhaps maybe spike strips ahead? I'm sure there's a lot of talk going on right now. Is this guy going to get back on the freeway? Are they going to stay on the surface streets?
Yeah.
As far as we know, this is still continuing in the city of Anaheim right now. It all began in Riverside at about 4 o'clock or so. So we've been following this pursuit for about an hour and a half now. We picked it up in the city of Ontario, where, again, they were driving on the surface streets. We know at one point there were 2 passengers inside this car. I'm sorry, 1 passenger is confirmed, along with the driver. But we don't know, Jeff. The question right now is, are they armed? Are there more people in the car, along with the passenger that was dropped off?
Look at it from this standpoint. There was a reason that passenger wanted out. And that passenger opened his or her own door and tumbled out. So there was a threat to that person, or there was a reason that person thought they were better off outside that car, even while it was moving, than they were inside.
Maybe they just said, you know what, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to stop it right here, stop while I'm ahead, and just get out.
Maybe they started in a kind of a complicit mode, and then they realized, I'm over my head here. Now, Stu said they were headed westbound. They were on La Palma. That's a east-west street. Coming up to a busy intersection, he's going to have to make the decision whether to jump that median and get into oncoming traffic. It looks like he's in the left turn lane.
Yep.
Just
Stu,
going with the
where
flow.
are we right now in
Making a
Anaheim?
left turn right here.
Yeah.
Well, we are definitely going to be in the Anaheim area, and now we're making that southbound turn. That was Lincoln that we were on, and now we're going to be making a southbound turn. You can see that the agency has switched out, and there is a canine, 2 canine units right there behind them. So perhaps there's some talk that this person is going to run. Something that just you go through all these things that could happen or might happen at one of these, and why that guy jumped out of that vehicle the way he did. Maybe this guy the driver started talking just really crazy, like, I'm not going to let him take me alive, and all that kind of crazy talk. And then the passenger was like, you know what? I was along for the ride, but when the bullets start flying, or if you're thinking that's happening, I'm out. And maybe that was the plan right there. That one officer that was right behind him there looked like he was speeding up when we got into that turn. So, again, we'll see what happens out here. We're making our way back eastbound again, a smaller street out here, paralleling Lincoln, just a little bit south of Lincoln.
That's Fletcher.
And, again, this is could be Fletcher. We're continuing on. We'll see where this thing takes us. But the agency definitely switched out. Right now, I wish I could tell you what agency is right behind them. Not sure if that's going to be Ontario.
Stu, in that area just south of Lincoln, as I'm looking on our map, there are not many streets that go through all the way to North Orange Olive Road. Most of those streets stop. This guy may find himself hitting a dead end.
That would be opportune
There's
for
one
these
right
officers,
there.
but
Just no sooner did you say it, Jeff, and there it is. He's making that turn right now. Looks like we're going to be making a turn. I got to look out the window. I'm all turned around. We were doing corkscrews as we were climbing. It looks like we're making a turn to the north. This could actually be Sunkist again, and that will take us back over towards the freeways. Maybe he's planning on making his way up. Nope, never mind. Making another U-turn out here, and you can see these officers just kind of doing that roundy round, making his way into a residential area. When you see those type of moves, you know that this person does not know where they're going. And Jeff, you know what? Maybe the topography, maybe these streets are what's going to bring this to an end. He might find himself in a spot where he comes into it, gets himself into a dead end, or he gets himself into a spot where it's a cul-de-sac or something along those lines. Very dangerous for the officers, but hopefully it'll bring this thing to an end peacefully.
Speaking of dangerous, we just get so nervous when they start driving on these narrow residential streets, because who knows who is out there jogging, running, walking their dogs, kids out playing, who knows? And you just got to wonder. I mean, but again, these officers who are in pursuit right now, we don't know if it's a CHP or a different police department agency. We're trying to figure that out right now. But they're doing the best they can to make sure that, of course, the public's safety is their #1 priority. But this driver, you can see him going around the traffic like that, making those left turns and coming very close to cars. But so far, he's been driving pretty, I think regular speeds, as Stu was saying, on residential streets.
I think it's really a point of indecision now. I mean, the faster he drives, the less time he has to make a decision. And he also seems to realize, seems to realize that the officers are not going to close in on him the slower he goes. So he seems to be content to keep a slow speed. That allows him to make better decisions, although he isn't really going anywhere.
It's true. Just making a lot of turns. Hasn't reached a dead end yet, but we know that many units are on the ground behind this guy right now.
Oh, wow.
How many units are we talking, Stu?
Well, no, there's at least, there we go. Wow, there are quite a few. It seems like
usually
whatever
5 or
agency
more.
this is, they brought them all out here this afternoon. 2, 4, 6, 8, 7. 7 vehicles, and we're on State College. So at least we got that taken
State
care
College.
of. We're on State College, southbound again is our direction. So we're getting into the southeast Anaheim area, and we've seen in the past the Orange County and the Anaheim PD. They have their tactics about pursuits maybe be a little bit more aggressive. So this might bring it to an end. The lights did come on somewhere along the line. A couple of canine units there behind him. So if this guy gets out and runs, maybe one of those dogs will get a chance to do his job today, and maybe we'll get to see that. Right now, though, State College is a street. The driving, let's just say a little better. He's been lucky on a lot of these lights. There's either a lot of traffic right there, or the light goes green as he makes his way into that area. Tracking along, trying to keep up with the street names as we make our way south here. And again, just not having much luck. But coming up to another major intersection, let's see if he just goes through. This is looks like a red light right there, because I can see greens in the opposite direction. But the vehicle really slowing down. So this might be how this thing comes to an end.
Yeah, really slowing down. Perhaps the slowest we've seen. When you wonder what's happening, is he running out of gas? Is he just wanting to slow down?
Lights are on too.
Is the car something wrong with the car? Who knows? Yeah, and as you mentioned, the lights are on now.
Turned his lights on finally.
Just now, yeah.
Well, at some point he has to see where he's going too. Stu, do we know if we're past? Are we past Anaheim Town Square? Are we past south of Lincoln Avenue?
We are way south of Ball. That's one of the majors.
Okay.
South
okay.
of Collins.
All right.
And we're coming up on Orangewood. Orangewood is going to be probably the next major that we arrive at. That's going to be a major. So he's been making his way southbound. Now would be the time. Even these officers, they got a better view of what's going on down there. They can see if that car's bucking maybe and indicating running out of fuel. So they might not do that pit maneuver. But if he continues just driving slow like this, they're giving them that opportunity to do something like that, and they might just take advantage of it using the technology of Sky 2. I can tell you, we just passed Winston Street, and it does seem like it is really starting to slow down, if not stop. It's like just, it's been a long time since I ran out of gas, knock on wood, but you know how it kind of kicks and bucks and then dies. So maybe he's at that point right now. But those officers, they're ready to take this guy into custody. The public probably in the area, if they're probably kind of done with this as well. Right now, though, slow moving as we stay on State College and working our way down over towards almost out of the Anaheim area, getting into the Garden Grove area.
Yeah, we're just getting word right now. This is the Anaheim Police Department behind this guy right now. And then it also makes you wonder, Stu, we've also seen taunting going on too. We've seen hands out the window. Look, Mom, no hands, I'm driving. But then it makes you wonder, is this guy slowing down and then, driving again or accelerating again just to taunt officers?
Well, and if I have my bearings...
we never really know. We never really know, but this guy definitely doing that right now. He's been taunting them. He's been sticking his hand out the window every now and then. The window is up right now, but you can see him definitely moving around in that vehicle. My guess is, from what we've seen, this guy wants to go. It looks like that truck is basically just coming to slowly bringing this thing to an end.
That's a green light.
It looks like we're actually waiting for.
No,
we're not waiting.
No, it's a green light.
He has a green light.
Huh.
He has a green light. So. We'll see what the plan is right here. Hopefully it isn't he's going to do something silly like when the light changes and the cars move, he's going to try to dart out there.
Might try that.
Hopefully it won't be that, but you can see those officers, they're
already
moving
out.
around, and we're hearing again, this guy armed and dangerous. Now what he has, or if the officers saw it, again,
there's the canine.
We don't really know. That'll come out in the wash, but armed and dangerous for sure. So that's one of the reasons why these officers are being cautious.
What's this intersection here you got, Stu?
Would that be Catella?
Well,
Cerritos?
we'll take a look. We'll use our power right there. That's Cerritos?
Cerritos.
Cerritos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cerritos.
Okay.
So,
we're just
he's
we're north,
come to a
basically,
stop right there.
we're north of Anaheim Stadium.
North of Anaheim Stadium, exactly. So, it makes you wonder, is this going to come to an end here?
Well,
We've seen the suspect slow down and accelerate again, slow down, accelerate again. But
I'm with
this is
Stu on
the-
this one. I think
yeah.
he ran out of gas.
You know what? It's got to
Yeah.
be the case because, again, we haven't seen this stop, this entire pursuit, and here we are. They haven't, attempted any pit maneuvers or anything like that that actually disabled the vehicle. So
Now, Stu, do you see whether Anaheim PD is
There he
closing
goes.
off traffic on Cerritos? Oh, doors open.
getting out of the car.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything on Cerritos. I was very
Hands up.
cautious with the door popping open.
Hands up.
I definitely saw his hands out, so that's a great sign. He's just he's going to be just hands up, bringing this thing to an end. The dog, though, ready to make a move if need be, but it does appear that the driver now hands up and following the rules and going into custody. Maybe he was just looking for those last couple of minutes of freedom, which he did get. And thank goodness, as it stands right now, nobody was injured during this pursuit. A lot of crazy driving earlier on, a lot of risky moves, driving along the railroad tracks, and that was something that I hadn't seen in a long time. Right now, though, these officers, they've got their guns drawn. They are in a very serious stance. That dog ready to do his business, but the suspect definitely giving up. And again, just because we saw one person fall out of the car earlier on doesn't mean that there might not be somebody in that back seat.
That's right. Until they clear that car, they're not going to know if there are other people in that car. And again, we don't know if other people in this car could be armed and dangerous. So again, the Anaheim Police Department really going to take caution on this one as this driver of this pursuit is walking backwards, and the next orders that will be given to him is to get on the ground and put his hands behind his back, and that's when they'll go in and handcuff him. And they'll probably go in the car to
You have to clear
see
the
if,
car.
Yeah, exactly, to
Yeah.
see if there's anyone else in there.
And if you ever wonder why the PD, what various police departments tell you they don't want you to tint your windows, this is the reason, because they can't see in there. And it scares them. They don't know what they're coming up against.
Sure.
And so they have to have their weapons drawn as they gingerly open those doors, look inside, and make sure there's not a third person in there. I believe there were two. We saw someone bail out about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, it looks like they're ordering him to walk to his right and kind of shuffle to his right, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder if they want to get him on the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Again,
no reason.
one of the reasons why it's taking so long and they are being so cautious is because of the wants that this guy has, and then we're trying to sort that out. But maybe he didn't. But you know what? These guys they're gonna err on the side of caution. And if this guy might have attacked an officer, he might as well have attacked an officer. So that's one of the reasons why they're taking this type of attitude. You can see a number of officers out there, weapons drawn, ready to move. Just because he's following the rules right now doesn't mean he might not have a weapon underneath that hoodie or in his pants. So that's one of the reasons why they're working slowly and taking their time with this.
They may have him take the jacket off himself.
But his hands aren't up, are they?
Yeah,
I can't tell.
He's now talking to them. He's kind of gesticulating with his hands, turning back around. Now he's going to lie down. I'll tell you, if the guns don't get your attention, the barking of that dog will.
Sure.
Continues to get closer. Boy, they're having him come
There he
right
goes.
up to
Yeah,
him.
right up to them. And I wonder
That's
why,
unusual.
though.
Yep.
Very unusual, especially for an armed suspect, because they don't know if he could just
Yep.
quickly grab it out of his pocket.
No, they're gonna frisk him,
Wow.
pat him down while he's standing up.
I believe that's the first time I've ever seen that, Jeff.
Yeah, I would
After
agree
a
with you.
pursuit.
Especially in the dark.
Maybe a different protocol for Anaheim Police Department.
Yeah.
Maybe this is how they do it.
Whatever works for them. But it appears at this point now the guy behind the wheel is getting cuffed. They're backing him up now between two police units. Anaheim PD doing this.
Yes.
And now they're
Oh,
going to
I'm
put him
sorry, I
on the
was
hood of
talking
that
to-
car, or the trunk of the car, I should say. They should bend him over, and that's where they can continue to pat him down.
But the stance the officers have is still very tense. We haven't seen one of the weapons actually be lowered, or even any of these officers change their direction. So they are keeping an eye on that vehicle. There may be somebody in that back seat. We saw earlier on hands coming out of that window, and then one person fall out. So there may be nobody in there, but then again, there might be somebody else. And like you said, those tinted windows make it very difficult. That driver in custody, even if he was saying there's nobody in there, they're not going to take his word for it. I was wondering about that intersection. That car just drove through right there.
Yeah, I thought they blocked it off. They blocked off Cerrito.
Yeah,
you can
they
see
definitely
that.
blocked it
but
off.
Stu,
yeah.
you made an excellent point there. That's the reason they had him back up all the way to the units, because they couldn't put a police officer in between drawn weapons and that car. So they needed the suspect to back all the way up, so the officers who still have weapons trained on that car have a clear shot without putting officers in between.
They don't know.
Excellent point. But nonetheless, Stu, very good call on that. And we've been with this now for more than an hour and a half, and we have a suspect in custody in Anaheim. Everything seems to be clear. They're going to clear that car, and we'll let you know if anything else happens.